Have you ever caught yourself thinking, why does everything feel so hard for me? You've read the books, tried the planners, maybe even built entire systems to help yourself focus. And yet somehow it still feels like you're swimming upstream every single day. If you've ever wondered why ADHD seems harder for you than it should, this episode is going to connect the dots in a way that finally makes sense. Because it's not that you're doing everything wrong or that you haven't tried hard enough. There's something deeper happening underneath the surface that most ADHD women don't get told about. By the end of this episode, you'll understand the hidden reason your brain feels like it's working against you. And more importantly, how to begin creating the kind of internal environment where focus, motivation, and calm actually come naturally. I'm Jen Barnes, ADHD success coach with over 25 years in the mental health field. And if you've been feeling like ADHD life is way harder than it should be, this one's going to change how you see yourself and your brain. Be sure to listen. Welcome to the Self-Loved ADHD Woman's Way podcast. I'm your host, Jen Barnes. If you're an ADHD woman entrepreneur, ADHD adjacent, or ADHD-ish, you've come to the right place. We'll dive deep into the unique challenges you face, from the inner turmoil to the outer obstacles. We'll blend neuroscience, IFS, and somatic healing and explore practical strategies to help you navigate the world of entrepreneurship with ADHD with greater ease and effectiveness. I'm glad you're here. Hey, it's Jen. I'm so glad you're here. So, a pattern I've noticed in myself and others with ADHD is that we live life on hard mode. And it's not that we haven't done things. Many of us, especially if you're listening, I tend to attract people like me who are well educated and who have done fairly well in their work or in some other part of their life. And yet life feels so hard. I want to talk about why it feels harder than it quote unquote should, which I know that it's dangerous there. I'm not trying to invalidate anyone's experience of their ADHD. And at the same time, I want to help you make it easier. That's what we're going to do in this episode. As much as I can in about 20 minutes. I'm trying to get my episodes down so they're more watchable in a short period of time. So that way you're getting what you need and actually listen to the whole thing. So awesome. So I want to get to how we can help. But first, I want to talk about why it is and even how you know this, right? So I am grateful to have gone to a really good private high school as a kid. And I was always proud of how hard it was because I did 5 hours of homework a night until I realized that, like, people who are my intellectual peers, if you will, actually in the same classes got their homework done in 2 or 3 hours or less. So it's like, okay, how's that work? Right. And I realized this recently, like in my 50s, and I'm only 51. So there's some telling information. And what I realized is that I was approaching doing things with what I didn't know was ADHD in a way that was making it so much harder. And you might be too. And what is that way? Well, there's lots of ways, right? But the one I want to talk about today is with a dysregulated nervous system. And if you're wondering what I mean, well, think about it this way. Let's say you had this work task to do, even if it's interesting, right? But a bear is chasing you. What is going to draw your attention more? Getting away from the bear or doing the interesting work task? Like a real bear, right? You're going to be focused on getting away from the bear. That's because when your brain senses or perceives a threat, a dangerous threat, right? Your focus, your motivation is all focused on getting away from said bear. Or, the bear, of course, is a metaphor for other perceived threats. And so the thing is, our brain does not know the difference between a bear chasing us and some nasty comment we received from someone. Our nervous system, this part of our nervous system, the protective part of it, our autonomic nervous system is very primitive. So it's just like perceived threat, fight or flight response. And we immediately go into our fight or flight response. And what does that look like? Well, if you've never heard me talk about it, or you've never heard anyone else talk about it, your fight or flight response is going to feel like restlessness, a desire to fight or flee. So, like avoid or leave or get out, or to feel really angry and feisty. You might feel irritable, anxious, like I said, restless. So, when you're noticing that, your nervous system is in your fight or flight response and there is a perceived threat. So, just like with the bear, you're not going to be able to focus on what it is you need to do. Then another option that can happen here, though, is like, I don't feel like that, Jen, and I still can't. Well, here's the thing. When, and I'm going to change this from a bear chasing us so it doesn't get too personally graphic. But if you think about a cheetah chasing a gazelle, the gazelle is going to run away because it knows it can't fight a cheetah and win. It probably doesn't really cognitively understand that it's not going to outrun a cheetah, but it probably somehow, like in its bones, knows that instinctually the best option is to run. So it runs. But that gazelle is eventually going to run out of energy and play dead. And in the animal kingdom, we call it playing dead. But what it really is the dorsal vagal or shutdown response. And this is a good thing because when you're in your shutdown response, it's like your nervous system's like, okay, all hope is lost. We're going to be eaten alive by this cheetah, and we really don't want to feel it. So we're going to go into shutdown response. Now, granted, even though your sensations for physical and emotional pain are dimmed in your shutdown response, you can still feel things, right? But like you're not going to feel it as badly. So you go into this state of giving up. So the other experience that you might have when the proverbial bear is chasing you, which could be anything, right? A nasty look, like I said, if you feel like you can't get out of it, your brain might just shut down. And then you're for sure not going to be able to do anything because it doesn't feel safe to do anything else. So with ADHD, we already have a hard enough time with motivation and focus. But if your nervous system is dysregulated, it's going to be that much harder. To add to this, not to like really pile on and make us feel like shit about ourselves, but to add to this, a lot of us spent much of our life masking who we really are. Because early on, we learned that who we are with our brain the way it was, we didn't know that was ADHD, most of us. We knew that that wouldn't have been okay. We knew that we would have gotten in trouble. We would have gotten bad grades and then in trouble, whatever it is. So our little girl selves figure out how to mask through people pleasing and over functioning and perfectionism and high achievement so that we did stay beneath the radar. And in some cases, maybe you didn't figure that out and then you actually received a bunch of extra criticism, correction, and complaint, basically telling you that you're doing it wrong when your ADHD brain is just doing it the way your ADHD brain knew how to do. And so whether you got those messages over and over around like you're doing it wrong, or you got the message like, oh, I have to mask so that doesn't happen, you still grew up in this environment of it not being okay to be you. And that naturally is going to lead to some unhealed wounds that might lead to you naturally vacillating back and forth between your fight or flight and shutdown response more often than you would have had that not occurred. And so it's not that uncommon that ADHD women will come into my therapy office where I specialize in complex trauma as well as ADHD. Also work with some autism. Not an expert on that at this point yet, but can help. What happens often is women who don't have a complex trauma history will come in and their nervous system behaves the exact same way of a nervous system with someone who has had complex trauma. Because perhaps that regular wounding of feeling like you're not okay the way you are, whichever way you did it, is traumatic, or at least still bothers you. And so your nervous system is still vacillating between fight or flight and shutdown, push, 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 or crash. So when that's happening, your ability to focus on the task you want to do is going to be limited. It's going to be very hard. So, your nervous system being dysregulated is what's making your ADHD harder. And sometimes that can come from unhealed wounds from your growing up experience with an ADHD brain. So, it's important to know that so you stop shaming yourself when you're struggling to focus. So, we've talked about like what's really happening here. The question is now, what do we do about it? How do we get out of this? How do we get ourselves to be able to work and live with our ADHD without it being so hard all the time? Well, two things about that. One, we can do in the, I don't know, 5-ish, 10-ish minutes we have left in this episode. The rest might be deeper work that you can choose to do with me or someone else who does this work. But that deeper piece we'll get to. The piece you can do now is learn how to notice when you're dysregulated and then regulate your nervous system. So that means noticing, like, oh, okay, I'm having a really hard time focusing. What's going on right now? Oh, okay, I notice my heart is racing. My thoughts are going faster than usual. I'm bouncing my leg, which could be a stim, it could be anxiety, right? I'm feeling restless. I feel like I want to avoid this or I feel angry or irritated. Well, you're in your fight response. So maybe you notice that, or maybe you notice you're like, I can't even get myself to look at the task. You might be in your shutdown response, feeling more disconnected or depressed, even maybe dissociative. When you notice one of those, it's important that you then acknowledge, like, oh, I'm dysregulated. Is it safe for me to be regulated right now? Because, like, yeah, if you're trying to do your work tasks, probably it is. But if you have someone being verbally or emotionally abusive, or you're in a unsafe place, it would be safe to get out of your fight or flight response because you do want to be more hypervigilant in a truly unsafe situation, like imminently unsafe situation. But if you're at your desk, in your home, or in your office, and no one's even around you, then it's important that you regulate your nervous system before you even try and do the task. Otherwise, you're going to start the task and you're not going to be focused. It's going to be hard. It's going to take you hours longer than it would have if you had just regulated your nervous system first. So, what do I mean when I say regulate your nervous system? Well, it depends on what state you're in because the shutdown response is protection through immobilization, through shutting down, not doing anything. Right? So if you're in that phase, any movement at all, even visualizing movement, is gonna help you get regulated. Although know that you might jump into your fight or flight response from there, so you're gonna wanna be prepared to do something to help you from that. So this could be going for a walk. It could be volcano breathing, which I'm actually gonna share in a moment, which also works for the fight or flight response, which is why I like to share that. It could be looking outside and imagining going for a walk. It could be just looking outside. So any movement at all, even visualizing movement, connecting with nature can help. There are other things that can help too, but that's way beyond what I can teach in a YouTube video. So that's how you get regulated from the shutdown response. Well, if you're in the fight or flight response where you're feeling more on edge, restless, anxious, irritable, angry, that kind of thing, fluid movement with breath is what you need. And sometimes it can be hard to do that. So there's things that I teach my clients, like the calmness mudra, which I probably taught here, where you shake off the energy to then be able to do the breath work. But fluid movement with breath. So this could be like a yoga sun salutation, being mindful of your breath as you go on a slower walk, or volcano breathing, which I'm going to share with you right now. So you're welcome to place your palms together in front of your chest. And then maybe on an inhale, you might reach up towards the sky. Then perhaps on an exhale, you might reach your arms down around by your sides and back to center. And you would do that at least 2 more times. Volcano breathing comes to us from yoga calm. So I want to give people the creds where they're due. And it's a lovely technique that can help you regulate your nervous system. So ADHD doesn't have to be as hard as it feels all the time. If your nervous system is dysregulated, if you're in your fight or flight response or your shutdown response, your ADHD is going to feel even worse. It's going to feel like your legs are in concrete and it's almost impossible to get moving. Or like you're so scattered because you're trying to get away from this hairy, scary thing that you can't even direct your attention. The good news is when you regulate your nervous system, you can actually work on bringing your attention back and doing the thing. That part 2, that second piece is doing the deeper work to heal the wounds, heal the unhealed wounds from growing up with ADHD. And if that's work you wanna do, you know what? I actually didn't plan on sharing this, but I have created a journal book experience. It's actually like a box that you get in the mail with really cool stuff inside and a journal book, which is a guided, self-guided experience. I mean, I'm guiding you in the journal book where you read and then do some writing. There's a guided meditation, like a QR code for it. And throughout the journal, you start to work through some of these deeper layers that have been keeping you small. So I'll put a link for that in the description. And that can be a nice start to doing some of this deeper work. And if you do want to do some of that deeper work with me, you can go to my website and get on the priority notification list. Right now, I've paused my program while I focus on other things. You can get on the priority notification list to do some of that work with me on my website, jenburns.org. Thank you so much for being here. And if you appreciate this content, if you have enjoyed my podcast, I would love it if you would follow or subscribe wherever you're getting it. And then like the episode itself or comment. It really helps me get more views, more eyes on the content I'm sharing so that then I can keep sharing it as part of my work. So I really, really appreciate when you help me and really other creators in that way by watching till the end and then liking, subscribing, commenting, and sharing. It's really, really helpful. So thanks again for being here, and may you enjoy your day, week, month, year, however long till I see you again. Hopefully next week. Take care.